Welcome to the fourth VIP presentation. Today I'm joined by PC Neil McEachran and Sergeant Andy Drillard. I'm very fortunate to work with these two officers in the community service branch, and they offer valuable experience about the topics we will be covering today. And in today's presentation, we have special guests and tours. So today's VIP topic is going to cover authority figures and youth in law. So authority figures. Authority figures are a person who has or represents authority. So authority is the power or the right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. People in authority are usually older than us, and they use their responsibility in that way. However, there are expectations to this rule. Those in authority have been placed in authority because they have important knowledge, skills, or information needed by others. They've been given the responsibility by society, employers, or others who instruct people to do things or behave in a certain acceptable manner. When dealing with an authority figure, you should always show respect, be attentive, truthful, and acceptive of the responsibility or actions that they are laying forward.
So who are these authority figures, right? There are parents, there's an aunt, maybe an uncle, an older brother or sister that's placed in charge, maybe when the parents left the home, a grandmother or a grandfather, a close family friend, or another caregiver, right? So these are the people that the parents or caregivers trust that share the same values as they have that they'll ensure that you're acting responsibly when they're away from the home, right? So those are other authority figures in our life.
Now, there's also at school, we have authority figures as well. And we're looking at, for example, your principal, the teachers, education assistants, secretaries, the janitor. These are also authority figures. And these authority figures, authority is validated through training and learned experiences. They teach values, ensure safety, provide a safe space physically and mentally. So we have authority figures at home, also at school, and we have to respect our authority figures.
So other authority figures that exist in our community, right? Police officers, like us on the panel here. They're auxiliary officers, doctors, nurses, firefighters, paramedics, lawyers, right? These are all authority figures who are specially trained in their area of expertise. Their jobs require them to educate and assist their community. They take oaths which bind them to their service. So these are people, again, that they have the expertise in their particular area. Like we said, doctors are giving us the proper care. We have our police officers that are coming to assist us in the community, EMS and fire, right? They're all trained in their area to create a safe community for everybody.
So what are the dangers of not listening to authority? If you don't listen to and respect those in authority, you're disregarding their valuable experience. There's punishment. If you don't listen to their suggestion, perhaps you won't make the same mistakes that they made. So that's why they're trying to get you to listen. You can be arrested if you don't listen to authority. Sometimes we just don't see the big picture or the long-term consequences. So there's punishment, being arrested. You can lose your freedom, and that's very important. We want to be free, and you can lose that if you're not abiding by rules and the laws. And authority figures have a little bit of experience in that. And when it gets serious, you can even lose your life, even death. When we disregard authority, sometimes we disregard the laws. When we disregard the laws, this is when you become in contact with the judicial system. The majority of the time, your first experience with the judicial system is the police, and that's where it starts. So that's where we're going to talk about youth in law.
So to go through what we're going to talk about in this, we're going to be talking about what are laws, the level of laws, why we all have laws, consequences of disobeying the law. So first of all, what is a law, right? Well, it's basically a set of rules that a country like us, Canada, or a community has agreed upon that regulate our actions. We agree, for example, you can't just walk up and punch somebody. You can't break into somebody's property. You can't go in on their property without their consent. We can't just drive as fast as we want on the highways, right? We can't, there's laws that say, no, to create a safe highway, we have to drive under this speed limit, right? So that's what a law is.
So why do we have laws? For peace. To live together, there must be peace. Any violence or disturbance that interferes with people's lives is against the law. If you disturb that peace, you break the law. For safety, to live in peace, we must be safe and free from fear. That is why there are laws to protect ourselves and our property. For order, to live in peace and safety, we must have order. That is why there are rules in sports and at school, and laws in the community. To live in a safe and organized society, we must live within that law. And for justice, justice means being fair and making things right when they are wrong. When someone breaks the law and it is proved in the court of law, society ensures that the lawbreakers are held accountable for their crimes.
Well, there are 3 levels of law here in Canada. Can you tell me the 3 levels of law? Okay, before you answer, I want you to think geography before you answer. Now, the first level is municipal, and that's like the city of Windsor, okay? The second level of law is at the provincial level, okay? Like the province of Ontario, right? Provincial level. And the third level of law is federal. That's all of Canada, right? So different types of law and different levels of law here throughout Canada. Municipal law affects your town, city, or county. Give me an example of a municipal law. An example I can give to you is parking, dog barking complaints, noise bylaws, shoveling snow from sidewalks. Anything that's small, minor in nature is a municipal law.
So now we're into provincial laws. So some of these are a little bit more serious, and some of them can result in maybe even you being arrested, right? So what is a provincial law? So it's a law governed by the province. Most commonly traffic offenses, speeding, going through a stop sign or a stoplight, not wearing your bike helmets, car seat belts, operating a snowmobile erratically on the roadway and not in a private property. The Liquor License Act is another one. We can't just walk around the streets with a beer, an alcoholic beverage in our hand. We've agreed that that's not safe for the community and that it should be at a licensed establishment and things like that. So that's not allowed, right? And we're not allowed to be intoxicated in a public place and things like that. Trespass to Property Act. So we're not allowed to trespass onto private property without the consent of the owner of that property. So those are just some examples of provincial laws.
And then we have the federal laws, and those are the most serious laws. So examples are such as theft, breaking and enter, that's going into someone's home without their consent, assault, arson, and homicide. When citizens break laws and continue to break laws, they can be considered criminals. And when you break the laws, you have to deal with the consequences. So here's a video that will take you through what can happen if you break the law.
I've been a Windsor police officer for 13 years now, working in patrol, which means answering calls for service, answering 911 emergency calls, and you really you really get a whole mix of everything that's out there. I've arrested people for stealing chocolate bars, and I've arrested 3 people in my career for murder. So, well, we just got a call here. Our call is to attend Devonshire Mall for a shoplifter. Fortunately for us, it's just around the corner here. So let's take a slide by. It's our call. We'll let our dispatcher know we're en route, and we'll go investigate this, see what's going on. People don't really realize the cost involved, the manpower, the police to investigate this, to prosecute it, the Crown attorneys. It really adds up. But that being said, it's a crime that has to be fully and properly investigated. Hello, somebody call the Windsor Police?
Yes, I did.
Are you Mike?
Yes.
Mike, I'm Officer Betteridge. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good, thanks. I hear you had a shoplifting situation today?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what happened.
Well, I was putting away some CDs. I
Okay.
noticed that he put a DVD in his coat pocket,
Okay,
and he was walking out the entrance. I kept my eyes on him at all times. Once he walked out the exit, I notified him who I was, that I was an HMV employee, and that I saw him put the DVD in his coat. He then admitted to taking the DVD. I took him to the back, and I searched him as well. I have his driver's license here, his keys, cell phone, and there's the DVD that I took from him.
excellent. What's your name?
Anthony Gabriel, sir.
How old are you?
18.
Look up at me so I can see your face. Okay, Anthony, stand up. Turn around, put your arms behind your back. Anthony, you're under arrest for shoplifting. This is Anthony. He's under arrest for shoplifting, and he's a keeper. He's coming downtown. Okay, Anthony, this is the transportation wagon. Gonna take you downtown, and I'll see you downtown. We've arrived here. Our prisoner's inside. We don't take him out until we're ready to take him out. Once a prisoner comes into this area, from now on, everything is on videotape. We've got numerous cameras in all of our cell area. To there, I will check my firearm in this locker. Once again, we know that there are no firearms up there, and our cell employees know that as well. Okay, off this way to your right, Anthony. Our next step, Anthony, look straight forward, spread your legs a little bit for me. You hear a beep right there, that's his metal cuffs that are beeping. And go right under, make sure nothing else there. We're all set to bring him up the elevator to be processed. Straight ahead, young Anthony. We're going up to the second floor, and that's where you're going to be processed. There's a camera even on the cell here that's monitored, so people can keep an eye on Anthony and keep an eye on me as well. This is our cell detention area.
Any physical or mental health disorders at all? Do you take any medications? Any alcohol today? Any drugs?
Our prisoner Anthony here is going to be registered, and while he's getting registered, and I'm searching him, I'm going to turn you over to Special Constable Jeff Cacciamilio, and he's going to give you a good idea about what we have here in South Windsor Police.
Okay, this up here, this is what we call the bridge, the command center of the whole cell block. Here we monitor all prisoners on videos, right from the time they enter the Sally Port right up into their individual cell. And here, this is where we control all doors. No one comes in or out unless we allow them. This is the booking counter, whoever the officer that sits here. This is the officer that does all the booking, all the preliminary processing of the prisoner. All calls are in here. It's a private room. We can't hear them. They can't hear us. So all phone calls to a lawyer or go in this room here. The next room we have here is the breath room. Anyone in for an impaired charge has to take a breath test. where a qualified breath tech administers the test with this machine right here, an intoxilizer breath machine. We have a few different kinds of cells in this facility. The first one is called the dry cell. Very plain and basic, no water facilities. This is used when we're really busy and before someone is properly searched, they're put in here. And also anyone in on a serious charge, like drugs or some type of assault, they're put in here so they have no ability to wash or flush any evidence away. Over here we have 3 bullpens. These are used on day shift mainly to house all the prisoners from the county jail. 3 different bullpens can house 3 different classes of prisoners. There are 3 interview rooms where a lawyer can speak to their client in person. Lawyer sits on that side of the glass, prisoner sits on this side, and they speak through a thick glass window. One of our 11 high cells. This is another kind of cell. It's called a high cell because of its high ceilings, no bars. This is used primarily for someone that's violent or suicidal. Not much to it, very small. Just a steel bed, a toilet, and a sink.
We're now in the print room of the cell detention area. In this room, our prisoner Anthony will be photographed and fingerprinted. In this area, a lot of our prisoners start realizing some of the repercussions of what they've done, and it really starts to hit home that this could affect them and have ramifications on them for the rest of their life. In the old days, we used to use a lot of ink and paper, just like you used to see in the movies, and nowadays it's all an electronic process. It is just as accurate, if not more. It's just a little cleaner procedure.
This is one of our 4 ranges. Each range houses approximately 11 cells, all individual cells. These are mainly used for when people are better behaved. Again, not much to it, steel bed, toilet, and a sink.
Okay, Anthony's been all processed. We got his fingerprints. He's been obviously all searched up. You can see we took his shoes because we didn't want him to have his laces. And he had a lace in his sweater. And rather than having to cut it out, we just took the sweater from him. He's called his lawyer. So now he's all set to be lodged in here for a little while because he's going to have to go in front of a judge for a show cause hearing. Probably not till tomorrow morning. So, Anthony, grab a seat in your cell. All this could have been avoided if he used his head and made some right decisions. I can tell he feels bad about what happened, but you know, we got to think before we act a lot. And hopefully he's going to learn a good lesson from this, and hopefully this is the last time he ever sees a jail cell.
So we're back from that video, and we can see the consequences of that person's actions. And, you know, it takes you through what happens when you're involved with an officer and the decisions that they have to make. And when we deal with situations like this, when you're a youth, you'll be judged, and you'll be judged differently than if you were an adult. And that is called the Youth and Criminal Justice Act. So as a young person, you still have to follow the law, but the consequences work different. This falls under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. So when you're between the ages of 12 and 18 years old, you're governed by the Youth Criminal Justice Act. So you are still held responsible for your actions. So I have this video here that's going to help explain what that actually means.
The Youth Criminal Justice Act is legislation for young people between the ages of 12 and 18. It was created to ensure the consequences for young people breaking the law are balanced between adult and child, punishment and rehabilitation, community and individual, public safety and reintegration, tough consequences, and opportunities to change. Young people should be held accountable for their actions, but they are still children who make mistakes. They should be given an opportunity to mature, learn from their mistakes, accept the consequences of their actions, and make amends. The Youth Criminal Justice Act in action. A police officer has a good reason to believe a young person has broken the law. They can choose whether or not to lay charges. Let's say the police officer decides there will be no charges. They can either give the youth a warning or caution, or refer the youth to a program for help. Police keep records of these warnings to ensure youth who continue to break the law face the consequences of getting in trouble again. If the police officer decides charges will be laid, they can charge the youth and then release them, or they can charge the youth and detain them. If the youth is not released, it may be because they are considered a danger to the public or unlikely to show up in court. Once charges have been laid, the case will go to a Crown prosecutor, who is a lawyer that works for the government. Usually the youth will have a lawyer too. From here, the youth could either go to court or to a program.
All right, so like Jamie was saying, we do have extrajudicial measures that we consider sometimes, right? So maybe this was a first offense, it was a minor offense, so we try to correct that behavior. We try to come up with scenarios, maybe have you take a course at youth diversion, at New Beginnings, something like that. Maybe writing a letter of apology to a homeowner, right? So, but if this behavior continues and we've exhausted those measures, then now you're heading towards the courtroom, right? Where you're going to meet a Crown attorney, a defense lawyer, a justice of the peace or a judge, social workers, right? These are all people in our judicial system. So to give you a little tour of the courtroom and the process that takes place when that happens, we're going to bring you there to our local courthouse, the Ontario Court of Justice. So we're going to pass this over to the head Crown Attorney of Windsor and Essex County, Belinda Pagliaroli.
Hi everyone, my name is Belinda Pagliaroli, and I'm the Crown Attorney for all of Windsor, Essex County. In this office, there are 22 Assistant Crown Attorneys, a Deputy Crown Attorney, and me. I'm very happy to be here today speaking to you about a topic that I think is very important, especially at your age. I understand that you've heard from police officers who've spoken to you about the law and the role of the police. I'm here to talk about the role of the Crown Attorney. So what does a Crown Attorney do? We prosecute criminal offenses. And what does that mean? That means that we do our best to protect the public, victims of crime, and people who are charged with criminal offenses, called accused persons. We do our best to hold people accountable and responsible for their behavior. So I'm sure you've learned from your parents, at home, your brothers and sisters, and even your teachers about consequences. That certain behaviors have certain consequences, and the more serious the behaviors, the more serious the consequences. The same is true in the criminal justice system. So behaviors that you may not even think about could be criminal activity. For example, if you steal from someone, that's called a theft. If you push someone, it could be an assault. If you break something, maybe a mischief. If you threaten someone, bully someone, or even harass them online, that could be a criminal offense. And so if the police decide to arrest you and charge you with a criminal offense, then you come into the criminal justice system. And that's where you meet the Crown Attorney, the defense lawyers, the judges, and you have to come to court. Now stop for a minute and think about that. What if you're charged with a criminal offense? What if that charge impacts your future, your aspirations, your career goals, your dreams? What if you even go to jail? We don't want that for you. The goal of the law is to prevent crime and help people like you become productive members of our society. We want you to understand the effects of your behavior and that your behavior does have consequences. We don't want you to have to come into contact with us. And so to that point, I'm going to turn you over now to one of our assistant Crown attorneys, Elizabeth Brown. She's going to give you a tour of the courthouse and introduce you just a little bit about the criminal process. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Belinda. Hi, everyone. My name's Liz Brown, and I'm an assistant Crown attorney.
And my name is Jonathan Lowell. I'm also an assistant Crown attorney.
And we're responsible for prosecuting crime in Windsor and Essex County. I'd like to take you on a tour of the courtroom and show you some of the other people involved in the criminal justice process. Let's go. So here we are in a courtroom. My job here is to ask witnesses questions so that they can give answers to provide evidence to support a case. I need to show the court all of the evidence that the Crown has in order for the judge to decide whether or not an accused is guilty or not guilty. I ask questions of witnesses who swear to tell the truth, and if you lie about telling the truth, you can be in really big trouble. I also tell the judge about what I think an appropriate sentence would be for someone who pleads guilty to a crime or is found guilty. It's always up to the judge in the end, but my job is to assist in telling the judge what the Crown thinks an appropriate sentence should be.
Hi, my name's Daniel Taub. I'm a defense lawyer. I'm here to protect your rights. Sometimes we do trials and I have to ask questions and make submissions to the judge about what exactly the truth was. Other times we do guilty pleas. On a guilty plea, it's my job to make sure that you're fairly represented and that all your rights are protected. No matter what I say or the prosecutor says, in the end, the final decision is up to the judge.
Hi, I'm Shannon Pollock, and I get the honor of being a judge of the Ontario Court of Justice. Normally, we aren't sitting behind all of this plexiglass, but things have changed a little bit because of COVID-19. My job is to listen to the evidence and to listen to all of the submissions that the lawyers make and to make decisions. When I make decisions, I have to make sure that I am doing that, and I'm going to use a couple of big words here, objectively and impartially. So what that means is that I have to be neutral. I have to listen to all of the evidence that comes before me, whether it's from witnesses or whether it's physical evidence like weapons or things of that nature, and I have to make the decisions in the end. Sometimes I'm making the decisions about whether somebody is guilty or not, and sometimes I'm making decisions about what sentence someone who has been found guilty should receive. In doing that, I have to make sure that I treat everybody in my courtroom fairly and with the utmost respect, and that's always what I try to keep in mind when people are in the court before me. So I hope that I never have to see any of you in my courtroom, but if I do, I will make sure to treat you fairly and with respect. You should make sure that while you're out there in the community, you're doing the same thing with everybody that you encounter on a daily basis.
There you have it, authority figures and the Youth Criminal Justice Act. Remember, in any decision you make, there's consequences, but we always have to go back to our values, our decision making, and think about peer pressure. And when we're making our decisions, our wise decisions, remember to use that IDEAL acronym. Anything else, guys?
No, I think you touched on it, Jamie. Like, that's why we started off the school year with talking about values, right? We talked about decision making and peer pressure and those things that are going to challenge you when making the right decisions, right? So that's why we're talking today about the consequences of your actions, right? Like, I don't think people understand sometimes the gravity of these things, right? Like, if you are charged with a criminal offense, for example, this can affect your liberties in some ways, right? Like, if you like going to basketball games or hockey games or baseball games in Detroit in your family, because we live close to the river, right? Sometimes if you're committing serious offenses and more than one serious offense, a border officer might go, no, you're not welcome in this country, and you'll get turned away. It takes away those liberties. Like, some of you, in a few more years, 4 more years, you're going to be driving a car. You're going to be 16, right? But you start committing offenses, then we go, okay, we're going to suspend that license and we're going to take it away for a little while until you drive more properly and you understand the consequences of your actions, right? So again, that's what we got into today, right? These can progressively lead to more serious consequences. So yeah, you want to be more responsible and make those right decisions.
Yeah, I'll say it's all about just respect for yourself, respect for people around you, and especially those in authority, and making good decisions, things that you have to think about, okay? And that's kind of how we all live here in Canada, to be safe and to be free. It's all about respect, okay? So that's kind of what VIP is all about, and we hope you guys have learned a lot from this.
All right. I want to thank the Crown Attorney's Office and the actors involved in today's presentation. And we'll see you for our next presentation. Bye.